Hi folks, JT and Tycho here from Play on Tabletop, and we're here today to present to you Judgement Eternal Champions.
Judgement Eternal Champions is brought to you by Creaturecaster, a company renowned for making some of the most beautiful and detailed miniatures in the market. They, along with the Gunmeister Games team, are reimagining the world of Judgement.
At its core, Judgement is a game for two players that pits your warband versus my warband in a battle to overwhelm the opponent's effigy.
The effigy is a symbol of your warband's chosen deity, and should it fall, you lose the game. You can damage your opponent's effigy directly, or you can collect souls for your god.
You can collect souls by killing your opponent's heroes, or by picking them up because they will randomly spawn and roam around the board.
That's the basic premise, but how do you play?
Well, the starter box comes with everything you need. It comes with dice, it comes with miniatures, it comes with tokens, and as well as character cards for your starting warbands. Each hero will have at least 6 cards to explain what they bring to your warband. The Judgement Eternal Champions box set comes with an effigy for Krognar and an effigy for Ista. Each warband is balanced. One aggressor, one defender, you both have a soul gazer, and you've got a warband that matches up against the other one pretty well.
These don't look like standard die 6s. What's the deal with them?
These are special Judgement dice. They've got 3 different symbols on them. The hit symbol, maneuver symbol, and they've got the Judgement symbol, which counts as both a hit and a maneuver.
I take it the blank side means nothing.
So depending on which character you're using, it's up to you how you use the results of those die rolls. However, the most you can ever choose to use is 3.
So you can roll a whole pile of dice, but you only get to choose 3 of them as the result of that roll.
Exactly.
So you'll notice the first part of your card is a character description, followed by the character's name.
Underneath that is the type of class they are, be it aggressor, defender, soul gazer, hybrid, or supporter.
Next, you'll find a number corresponding with their soul harvest ability.
Soul harvest is typically highest on the soul gazers.
Following that, we move into our skills area, starting with MOV, or movement, which describes how many hexes your character can move.
Agi, AGI, is the measure of your ability to defend against attacks.
Next is RES, or RES, which describes your character's resilience to damage. It tracks from the amount of damage that the character receives.
Next is MEL, or MEL. That is a measure of the number of dice you roll in melee combat.
Following that, MAG, M-A-G, is your character's skill in using magical attacks.
And finally, RNG is your character's ability or skill in using range attacks.
At the very bottom, you'll find a description of your character's weapons. For Dawnregar, he has a great staff. The first part of that is the cost and action points that it takes to use this weapon.
The second part is reach, or how far away they can actually target something with that weapon.
Following that are the damage statistics. A glance or 1 success on your attack would do 2 damage.
And a solid would do 3. The third category is crit. For Dawnregar,
He does 5. If my Rakir was attacking your Brock, what might that look like? So it says here on my attributes card that my MEL, M-E-L, is 7, and that gets compared to your Agi, or AGI.
my AGI, which in the case of Brock, his Agi is 3.
So that would give me 4 dice before modifiers. We start with positive modifiers.
If you had charged this round, you would get an extra 2 dice.
Yep. And then there are negative modifiers.
Yes.
So your character can be distracted.
Also, terrain can enter into it as well.
And finally, you as a defender can declare they stand their ground for one last -1 die.
The key thing to remember, though, is if the calculation goes below 0, you will always get 1 dice to attack with.
So we figured out that unless I was charging, I roll 4 dice.
Ooh,
Critical
nice
hit!
roll. Each hero also comes with a health card. which denotes the maximum health level at level 1, level 2, and level 3. You can use it to track damage during the game.
Next, we move to the ability cards. First is the innate abilities card, which describes the character's both common innate abilities that they may share with other characters, and their unique innate abilities, which are specific to the characters themselves.
The active abilities card, which is also for each hero, describes abilities that hero can perform. These may be things like attacks or special abilities, but each of them will cost action points, or in some cases, will actually cost fate.
Fate is like the game's currency. It allows you to do special abilities, reroll dice, and buy magical artifacts. Typically, a character's signature ability would cost 1 fate.
Level cards are the innate and active abilities that each hero gains as they gain levels.
So it looks like we've hammered out what we've got here and the basics of this game. Let's dive in and play this thing.
Now we set up as per the battleground from the Between.
Excellent. How do we do that?
So first things first, Soul Pit here, and I believe Soul Pit here. The Soul Pit is where random souls will spawn during the game. Here goes a shrine. If you control the shrine, you actually gain D3 fate in the communion phase. The Monster Pit, which we'll be playing this game with the monster Gloom, which is this guy here. The Pillar, which will go here, I believe. That's all the terrain outside of our effigies. So I'm going to place my effigy of Krognar here.
It's the effigy of Ista here.
So I'm actually going to choose to go second. I'm going to let you take first turn. That means
I deploy first.
you deploy the first model. All right, so we've set the board up, we've deployed our heroes. Now we have the first phase of the game, which is a miniature version of the communion phase.
The communion phase. So for the communion phase, we're going to collect some fate. We both get 1 fate for it being one of the first 2 communion phases.
Stick that on our effigy card so we keep track of it.
Second thing that we do in the communion phase, spawn the monster.
And we, as we've already stated, we'll be using Gloom for this playthrough.
And he comes into the monster pit. JT, you decided to go second.
I did.
Meaning I get the first activation. I have a few options. I can go with any of my heroes. I see a juicy target for the hungry axe of my aggressor, Brock. So, first activation, Brock is gonna charge. Rah! Off he goes. Charging, I get to use my movement. He goes 2, and then he can go his further 2 for the charge bonus, and ends up adjacent to Gloom.
Charge is a move and an attack. Takes 2 action points.
I get 3 action points per activation, and 2 of them have been burned up in this charge. Now we gotta figure out how many dice I roll for my attack. My Mel stat for melee is 7 dice.
Mel minus Agi equals the dice you roll.
That gives me 3, but I've charged. So that gives me a +2 modifier. So that brings me back to 5 dice. So I'm gonna roll 5 dice to figure out how badly I hurt Gloom here. Ooh, look at that. I can only use 3 of them, so I've chose the 3 that are best for me. That's gonna be 2 hits and a judgment roll, which allows for a hit and a maneuver, which counts as a critical hit.
What does a critical hit do for Brock?
Brock on a critical hit does 5 damage. Ooh. Plus, this is even better. His innate ability is called Backswing. This is a unique innate ability to Brock, and when he makes a critical hit with a great axe attack, he gets to make another great axe attack for no action points. On top of that, I'm a monster slayer, which means I do a further damage. So he's actually taken 6 damage from that critical.
He's only got 2 left.
He's only got 2 left. All I gotta do is touch him with this backswing and down he goes. Hey!
Oh no!
Didn't roll very well there.
Oh, that's a horrible roll.
So his backswing missed. Gloom is still alive. Luckily, I've got 1 action point left. A solid hit, that would be 3 damage, but because of Monster Slayer, doing 1 extra, 4 damage, down goes Gloom, yelping as he eats another great axe blow.
And because you've rolled a judgment die in there as well, you could maneuver Brock if you choose to at this point.
I think I'm going to take advantage of that and try and take a judicious step back. Make sure I don't get overwhelmed too easily by
Rakir.
All right, or any of his evil friends there. So I managed to kill good Gloom here. Down he goes. That gains me 1 fate point. Brock has managed to kill something, meaning he goes up a level.
So Brock's now level 2.
By leveling up, I'm going to go up by 2 health points from 16 to 18. As well, I gain a new innate ability, Heroic Destiny. The first time Brock has 0 health each turn, he does not immediately die. Instead, heal Brock for 1 health point. Because I have killed a monster, I have the ability to buy a magical artifact. So I'm going to spend that fate I just earned and buy myself the Boots of Agility. This gives me +1 to my Agi stat, which allows me to be a bit more defensive if I should get attacked from here on out.
It's worth noting that you can do that because you killed a monster. Normally, you'd have to be next to your effigy to buy a magical artifact.
That's right.
Wow, Brock is really strong. Don't think Rakir can take him out in 1 turn, so I gotta soften him up first. I'm gonna choose to activate Zeron, and I need to be within 5 because that's the range of my Necrotic Blast. If I go 1, 2, 3, that puts me within range of you. Now it's a magic attack, and I can tell because of the symbol next to Necrotic Blast. It has a reach of 5. My mag stat is 7, so that means I start with 7 dice. I have the magical equivalent of your Great Axe.
Well, I have an agility stat of 3, so you lose 3 of those dice, plus I have the Boots of Agility.
That's right.
So that's another whole one. That leaves you with 3 dice.
So I get 3 dice to shoot you, and I will. So, ooh, that's a great roll. So I score a hit, a judgment, and a maneuver. The maneuver is going to allow me to move, the hit is going to count as a hit, and the judgment die is going to count as a hit and a maneuver. So in this case, that's 2 hits, which is a solid hit, which is 3 damage to Brock.
Ouch.
So I'm actually going to move this way. 3, 4, 5. I'm still in range, and that means I get to do that again. I'm going to Necrotic Blast you 1 more time. A hit and a judgment. So I get a maneuver dice and a hit. Again, another solid hit to Brock. That's 3 damage. I'm going to move 1 closer to the Soul Pit. The Soul Pit hopefully will spawn a soul, and my Soul Gazer will be able to grab that. That's the end of my first activation.
So I think Donragar is going to go help out his little buddy. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to cost 2 of his action points to move twice. Donragar's last action point to do an active ability called Stone Form. So I'm going to set his agility to 1, his res to 3, and he becomes immune to throws, knockdown, and push maneuvers performed by enemies. This expires at the beginning of my next activation. He's going to be Stone Form.
That's why he's a defender class.
That's one of the reasons.
Rakir is in range to charge Brock now, and I think I can take you down.
Ooh.
How many health does Brock have left?
12 health points left.
12 health points left. I think I can take him down. Activate Rakir and charge. My move is 3, so I can go 3 plus 2 more for the charge. And that puts me right there. So I get 5, 6, 7 dice for my Mel stat with my dagger.
My effective Agi is 4, so you lose 4 of those dice.
I lose 4 of those, but I get 2 back for the charge. So I'm gonna take the 2 hit and 1 maneuver, and that's how I affect Brock. That means Brock should take a solid hit, 3 damage.
So I've taken a solid hit, but I don't think I want you to damage Brock. Luckily, I've got a defender nearby. When a friendly non-defender model with 2 hexes is hit by an attack, Donragar may choose to intercept the action.
Interesting. So I do 3 damage to Donragar then.
Luckily, Donragar, because of his stone form, he actually has a resilience of 3, meaning I take no damage.
Oof. I did get a maneuver die, and I'm not really happy. Just in case I don't kill you, I'm just gonna shift him to there. So I get 1 attack left, and I haven't charged now, so I'm only down to 3 dice. All right, so I've rolled, and I've managed to roll 2 judgments and a maneuver. That's fantastic. I'm gonna count them as hits and maneuvers. I'm gonna use my combat maneuver innate ability, Viper Strike. It cost me the use of 2 maneuver dice. Mr. Brock is now poisoned. I also still score 2 hits against Brock, and that means he takes a solid hit. He takes 3 more damage. Brock is currently poisoned. On my active ability card, for 1 fate, I can use Toxin. Target adjacent enemy suffering poison, and you take 2d6 true damage. So I spend the fate, and I roll 2 6-sided dice, and Brock takes this, and it's true damage, which means if he had resilience, it would not apply.
Oh, gosh.
I've done boxcar!
Ouch.
Wow! How much health does Brock have remaining?
Ouch. I only have 9 health left, meaning this should kill me. Except I have heroic destiny, which means instead of dying, my last health point is just healed. So I end up with 1 health point remaining.
Well, that's the end of Rakir's activation.
Well, I don't know if I can save Brock from his terrible fate of being horribly toxined by Rakir there. That was horrifying. Only his heroic destiny kept him alive. I think that Saiyan, for my last activation this round, give you some issues. She's gonna dash and then move 2, 3. Doesn't quite get her close enough to where I wanna be. So I'm gonna spend my second action point to get right there, because I wanna challenge for some shrine activity there. And for my last action point, Zeron is gonna get us withered soul.
All right.
Reach is only 3, but you're close enough for that.
Yep.
7 mag dice. What is your agi stat?
My agi is 4.
All right, so that's gonna leave me with 3 dice for this attack.
You bet.
Withering your soul! Huh.
Or not.
I got a judgment roll here, so that's gonna be a glancing hit.
2 damage? All right, so that takes me down to 12. So that leaves me with Skull Bone Storm. So I've got a choice. I can try to take that shrine from you, or I can kill Brock. Brock is scary, and if I can knock you back, then you'll respawn, but you'll be respawning at less ability.
I would be a little bit careful about that because I'm Ista. I respawn at full hit points.
Yeah, but you'll only come back still with only 2 actions instead of 3 on that first turn. So that's important. I'm going to use my first move to get to here, and then I'm going to charge Skull into Brock. And I can charge here 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to smack Brock. So Skull has a mel of 5.
Okay.
So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 5 dice.
I have an agi stat of 4.
Takes away 4, but I charged, gives me 2.
Gives you 3 dice.
Gives me 3 dice.
Oh, 1 more. You're ganging up on me.
I am ganging up on you because Rakir is there, so that's going to give me a total of 4 dice to try to take out Brock. All I got to do is get a glancing hit against him. I've scored 2 judgments and a maneuver. A solid hit against Brock, that's going to be 3 damage.
He is dead.
Ah, he dies. Because he died, that means that I get a soul. Skull has collected Brock's soul, and he gains a level.
He does.
So the cool thing about Skull is I have a choice. I can become a warrior, or I can become a mystic.
You look like a mystic to me.
I look kind of mystical. I kind of feel it. The warrior is pretty good too, though. Thinking I'm gonna take warrior, even though I feel mystic, I feel that the warrior abilities are going to help me. That resilience 3 is huge. So I want to be able to hit you more. I've also taken a soul now, and that's done 4 damage to your effigy. If I can get it banked into my effigy, that means it'll be 4 permanent damage, but as it is right now, it's just temporary. However, I'm that much closer to overthrowing your effigy.
So that looks like it's the end of the first turn.
So now we generate fate. So turn 2, we both get 1. And then I have a soul, so I will generate another one.
I am next to a shrine, meaning I'm going to generate 1d3 fate.
There you go.
Doing so. Come on, Saiyan. Oh, there's 2 fate to add to my pool.
Because this is the first turn that we're actually spawning souls, we'll randomly determine 1 to 3 low, 4 to 6 high is where it's going to pop up. And next turn, it will pop out of the opposite one. So it'll always go back and forth between the turns. We roll, and it comes out of this one.
Perfect.
Place the soul there. Ooh, now we get to fight over the soul.
It's mine, it's yours, it's mine, it's yours.
Your soul is mine. Oh, sorry. Monsters don't spawn on the turn immediately after they're killed. They wait a turn and then will spawn. So the next step is to resurrect any dead hero.
Oh, I've got one of those.
Yes, you do!
Now I have to resurrect him with adjacent to my effigy. So Brock wants to get into the mess again. He's going to go right there.
Normally he would be down 5 hit points, but he's not.
Right. As a divine gift, my warband bonus is that heroes that respawn adjacent to my effigy do so at full health.
However, you are -1 action point, so Brock will only have 2 action points this turn. So step 6, we can choose now to call effigy powers, and I'm actually going to do so because these guys are in a bit of a rough spot. Brock is in range of Rakir, and I don't feel like losing Rakir, and Skull has a soul on him that I want to deposit in my effigy. So my effigy power is pretty cool. Friendly chosen of Krognar heroes can be immediately placed adjacent to their effigy or a shadow orb placed by this warband.
So you're running away.
So I'm running away. So I'm gonna take Skull back to here.
So you've run off with that soul.
And I'm going to put Rakir here. Now I'm going to be able to, when I activate Skull, deposit this and permanently damage your effigy for 4. But by leaving Zeron here, I'm going to force some tough decisions on you as to who you choose to activate first. And that is the end of the communion phase. Now, Skull was last to activate, which means it's Ista's first activation.
Well, I think I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize for my first activation, and there's a lovely soul calling out for picking up. He wants to come with me. So Saiyan is going to do my first activation as a soul gazer, and she's going to gaze upon the soul that is right adjacent to her and try and harvest it.
How many action points does Harvest Soul cost?
It costs 2 action points. To harvest souls, I need to roll 2 dice, add my soul harvest ability. If I get higher than 12 as a total, I harvest that soul.
In this case, I'm actually hindering you, so it's -1 for each of the enemies that are adjacent to the soul. You have Soul Gaze of 6.
So I need to hit a 7 or higher on these dice because you're resisting. Well, look at that.
Look at that. 15 -1, 14 is still higher than 12, and you have collected that soul.
So that soul is mine. Well, this looks dangerous. There's all sorts of mean guys around with action points, so I'm going to dash and then move 3.
Ooh, to deposit that soul potentially.
So because she picked up a soul, she actually goes up a level to level 2, gaining a new active ability. I can now put you to sleep.
Also do 4 damage temporarily. So the reason that we say temporary is should that character be killed before they get a chance to deposit it, that soul would go away.
Dissipate.
And it would no longer be damaging to your opponent's effigy. I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna start by activating Skull, and I'm going to bank the soul that I've collected. And by doing that, it does a permanent 4 damage to your effigy. So that's 1 action point for Skull. He has 2 remaining. I'm gonna take a page out of your book.
Ooh, are you gonna defend with a defender?
I'm gonna defend with a defender. Right here. Yeah, I'm gonna go 1, 2 of my 3. That's my 2nd action point. And for a 3rd action point, I'm going to Bulwark onto Zeron. I have to target a non-defender model within 2 hexes, and he'll gain 5 temporary health.
I think I'm gonna go with Donregar.
So his stone form falls away.
And I know the soul's coming back over here, and I want to make it harder for you to go get that soul. So,
then the soul pops up in it, right?
And I'm not next to the monster pit. 2 action points left. I think I'm just going to activate stone form and be a big brick of stone standing on top of the soul pit.
Even though you waste 1 action, you have 1 remaining, it's still a good move because I need to get rid of him now, and I can't shift you with a maneuver dice because of your stone form. I think that I'm gonna try to pull the same move I did on Brock on Rakir. But I'm gonna use one of my abilities, Shadow Step. Because I called my effigy power, Zeron now counts as a shadow orb, and for 1 action point, when adjacent to a friendly shadow orb or effigy, which is where Rakir is, he can be placed adjacent to any other friendly shadow orb or friendly effigy. Go from my effigy to here for 1 action point. So I use my Shadow Step for 1 action point to place him from the effigy to here, because Zeron counts as a shadow orb. And then I'm going to charge Donregar, starting with a sidestep, And then 1, 2, 3, 4 with what's called a zigzag charge. My melee is 7.
My agi is 1, because I'm made of stone.
Now I also charged, so that gives me another 2 dice.
That's right.
Here we go. Okay, what do we have here? I can only use 3 of the dice that I've rolled. I want to do as much damage to you as I can.
But you want to poison me, too.
And I also want to poison you.
That's why you're going for the 2 maneuvers, as opposed to just choosing the critical hit.
The problem is, I'm next to a monster pit now, and I'm not going to be able to maneuver away from that. But I count as 2 hits against you, which is a solid hit, which is only 3 damage.
Oh, well, looky there. I've got a resilience of 3, so you end up doing no damage.
So I'm going to place the Shadow Orb here, because it's a free action for him to do so, and that's going to allow other characters to get over next to that.
Brock is going to make a charge against Rakir there, because he's facing the wrong direction, and I like killing orcs. So, the dwarf. Mel dice of 7. What's your agility, sir?
Agility is 4.
So I lose 4 of those dice down to 3. I get 2 more for being on the charge, up to 5. Plus, I'm ganging up on you.
You are.
So that's gonna be 6 dice. Oh, wow. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. I don't need to maneuver, so I'm gonna take those 3 hits, call that a critical, and that's gonna do you 5 damage there.
Ooh, that takes me down to 10.
And that opens up my backswing.
Because you got a critical.
That's right.
And that's a free attack, isn't it?
Free attack, so 7 dice. Even though I'm out of action points, I still get to attack here. -4 gives me 3, +1 for the gang up is 4. Oh, look at that. So that's gonna be another solid for 3. So a grand total of 8 damage to good old Rakir this round.
So that's the end of your activation. So then my activation would be my final one, which would be Zeron. Nobody controls the shrine that dishes out fate, so I'm actually going to move next to it. I have a range of 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, if I go 1, 2, even just to here, I'll even go out to here. My Necrotic Blast is a reach of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm within. And that is Magic 7.
Looks nice until you compare it to my agi stat, which is 5.
Ooh, that's so good. Or 5, which is 2, and I get no other bonuses, so I'm just gonna try to shoot at you. Ooh, a Judgment and a hit.
Oh, that'll do it.
That's gonna be a solid hit for 3 damage. I'll shoot at you again, and it's a hit and a maneuver. So in this case, a glancing blow does 2 damage to Saiyan, and I don't really need to maneuver any farther. I'm gonna stay right where he is. There we go. So that's the end of Zeron's activation. Now we go to Communion phase.
At the beginning of the communion, this didn't need to happen last time because you failed to damage me. Gunragar regenerates 2 hit points. Still has 18 to bring him down.
So next step, we move on Bound Souls and Monsters, and there are none. And now we generate fate.
We don't get any free fate anymore.
Nope.
But I have a character holding a soul, so I'm going to generate a fate from that.
I have a soul banked, so I'm going to generate a fate from that. And I'm also going to generate fate because I control the shrine.
You
So
do.
I get a D3. I get a fate.
A whole fate.
A whole fate. And now step 4 is we spawn a monster.
Ooh, I like spawning monsters.
I don't like spawning monsters.
Monsters, guess where they spawn?
They spawn in the monster pit.
Ooh, and look, right next to the monster pit is a juicy, juicy
Target. So because Rakir is right next to the monster immediately attacks. Now you get to roll for the attacks for the monster immediately.
Oh, do I? Do I ever?
So the Mel on Gloom is 8.
Oh, that sounds like enough.
Rakir's Agi is 4.
Oh, okay. Munchy, munchy. Yeah, that's fine. Monsters don't maneuver you, but that will be a glancing.
Which is 3 damage, which takes me down to 4.
Oof.
Oof, that hurts. And we spawn a soul.
Because I am in the soul pit, I get to put it adjacent, so I'm just going to put it over there.
Now we go to the end of the Communa phase, and if you want to call your effigy power this turn, you can do so.
I think I might. So that's going to give me Fly and Nimble to my entire force. Fly allows me to move over terrain and other characters, and Nimble allows me to not take parting blows. That's right, I avoid parting blows by being nimble.
It is now your turn.
So I am going to start with Dunregar. So he's going to lose his stone form. So now I'm going to spend my first action point swinging my great staff at Rakir. I have a Mel of 6. What is your agi?
My agi is 4.
All right, so that's going to leave me with 2. Also, I'm ganging up on you, so that's going to bring me to 3.
Yes.
Here comes my attack. I don't like that result because I have a plan. So I'm going to spend another fate on another general action to re-roll my attack. Now that's pretty good.
That's really good.
A critical hit with good old Dunregar does 5 damage. That's a really solid bop.
And that's enough to kill Rakir.
Ooh. So I'm going to go up a level.
And you're going to gain a soul for killing Rakir.
Soul for killing Rakir.
And do 4 more temporary damage to my effigy, which brings my effigy down to 8.
Oof. That's pretty good.
You also got 2 maneuvers there.
I'm going to maneuver twice with that. Boom, boom. Gets me much closer to my next target.
So Rakir is now gone.
Rakir is dead. With my last 2 action points, I'm going to charge your effigy. Sidestep, 1, 2. My Mel is 6.
All effigies have an agi stat of 3.
And I have 2 for my charge. So I'm rolling 5 dice against your effigy. Dunregar, do me well.
Ooh, what's a critical?
Dunregar, critical hits for 5 damage.
Ooh.
You have a resilience of 1 on your effigy, I believe, so that would take it to 4 damage left. He's close, he's close.
Huh. Well, I have to come up with something here. That fly and nimble from your effigy power is really, really good. I don't think, even if I got into combat with Brock, I wouldn't be able to stop him. So I'm going to activate Zeron, and I'm going to spend an action point and a fate. I'm actually going to summon a skeleton and place him next to me. Now the skeleton gets to act immediately, and the skeleton has a move of 3 and has 2 action points. So I'm actually going to advance him twice. I move 1, 2, 3, and then I move 1, 2, 3. And then I'm actually going to attempt with Zeron, because this is all still part of his activation, I'm going to attempt to harvest that soul and do damage to your effigy through my skeleton.
It's -1 to do it through his skeleton?
It is -1. I have a soul harvest of 6. Normally, would need a 6 to succeed here, because you need a 12 or higher to harvest a soul. I actually need a 7 or higher in order to do it. And there we go.
Ooh.
7 plus 6 is 13, -1 is 12, and Zeron gains a soul. But my effigy is hurt.
I'm going to activate Brock, because if I get lucky, I can win this thing right here. So, here he goes. He is a flying, nimble dwarf right now. First, do a movement, because I'm too far away to charge your shrine. So it's going to be dash and move 2 to get to there. And now I'm going to use my last 2 to charge. Normally, Skull would be in the way, but I'm a flying dwarf, so here I go. Sidestep, 1, 2, 3 with his charge bonus. Get into charging your effigy. I have a Mel of 7.
Yes.
You have an agi of 3, which gives me 4 dice, but I'm on the charge. That's going to bring me up to 6.
If you do this, if you get 3 hits,
I win the game. All right, so here we go. Come on, Brock.